Commander Elias Trent stood at the edge of the grand balcony, staring at the twin suns rising over the alien world of Velshar. He adjusted his dark blue uniform and tried to look calm, even though his heart was racing. This was his first mission as a human ambassador to the Zaltari Empire. Peace between Earth and the Zaltari could change the galaxy forever. The palace behind him sparkled like glass, built from crystals that hummed softly in the wind. Everything here felt strange. Beautiful, but strange. "Ambassador Trent," said a smooth voice behind him. He turned to see Princess Virella, the eldest daughter of the Zaltari Empress. She was tall, elegant, and had glowing silver markings on her skin. Her long, flowing hair shimmered like starlight. She moved with the grace of someone trained in both dance and war. "Your Highness," Elias said with a respectful nod. "You may call me Virella," she said, smiling slightly. "We are not enemies, we are almost family." Elias blinked. Almost family? Before he could ask more, a group of Zaltari nobles entered the balcony. Musicians played soft notes from instruments that floated in the air. This was supposed to be a quiet diplomatic meeting. Elias expected some handshakes, polite words, maybe some tea. Instead, Virella stepped forward and raised her voice so that everyone could hear. "I, Princess Virella of the House of Stars, formally request a life bond with Elias Trent of Earth," she said. "Let our worlds unite through this sacred connection." The crowd gasped. Elias's jaw dropped. "Wait, what?" he asked, blinking in confusion. A small Zaltari child clapped. One noble fainted. Another one whispered, "A royal bond with a human? It's truly happening." Virella turned to Elias with a calm look. "Your people believe in peace, yes? We Zaltari believe in unity through bonding. It is how our empires grew strong. If you become my mate, our alliance will never break." Elias had been trained for war, for survival, and even for deep space politics, but no one had ever prepared him for a marriage proposal in front of a crowd of aliens. He opened his mouth, then closed it. This could be a major moment for Earth. But wasn't this too sudden? I need time to think, he said honestly. Before anyone could respond, a new voice rang out, sharp and playful. "Human, you can't just marry my sister and ignore me." Everyone turned. Princess Thalia, Virella's younger sister, stepped into view. She wore a bright purple robe and had a sparkle in her eyes that showed trouble was never far behind her. "If you're marrying her, you must take me too," she said boldly. "It is the way of our people." Elias's brain nearly stopped working. "Wait, what?" he said again. Thalia walked right up to him. "It's Zaltari law. Any royal bond must include a sibling to maintain balance. One sister for leadership, one for vision. You can't just pick one. You must accept both." Elias looked from one sister to the other. Virella stood tall and silent like a statue made of stars. Thalia was grinning, clearly enjoying his confusion. "Is this a test?" Elias asked. "A diplomatic joke?" "No joke," Virella said gently. "This is real. Our culture is different from yours, but we respect humans. You have earned the right to bond with royalty." Thalia leaned closer. "Besides, I'm way more fun than my sister." Virella rolled her eyes but didn't disagree. Elias stepped back and took a deep breath. This mission was already more complicated than he imagined. He wasn't against working with aliens. He'd trained for it. But marriage, 2 wives from a royal alien family, and in front of a whole court? He needed time. But the Zaltari didn't seem like they waited for things. As the music played on and the nobles whispered excitedly, Elias realized something important. Whatever happened next would change not just his life, but the future of humanity in the stars. He cleared his throat. "I am honored and a little overwhelmed. I'd like to learn more about your customs before I agree." Virella nodded. "That is wise." Thalia crossed her arms, pouting. "You better not run away." Elias chuckled nervously. "Where would I go? I'm surrounded by aliens in a glass palace on a planet 2 light years from Earth." The sisters smiled, and thus the human diplomat's journey into the heart of alien royalty began, not with war or treaties but with a surprise proposal. and an even more surprising second offer. Commander Elias Trent spent the rest of the day in a quiet guest chamber, high above the shining crystal towers of Velshar. The room was beautiful, walls of soft light, floating cushions, and a view of twin waterfalls, but he couldn't relax. Married? To an alien princess, 2 alien princesses? He had faced space pirates, black holes, and dangerous peace missions. But this was new. The door chimed softly. "Enter," Elias said. Princess Thalia stepped inside, without waiting. She wore a bright robe covered in stars, and a big smile on her face. "You didn't run away." "That's good," she said, hopping onto a floating chair like it was hers. "I didn't know that was an option," Elias said dryly. Thalia laughed. "No, not really. If you tried, the palace defense systems would just teleport you back." Elias raised an eyebrow. "You're joking, right?" Thalia just smiled wider. "Mostly." Elias sat down across from her. "Look, I'm trying to understand this. On Earth, people choose who to marry. They spend time, talk, fall in love. It's not a political thing." Thalia tilted her head. "But your leaders marry for politics sometimes, don't they?" "True, but I'm not a king or a president. I'm just me." "Well," Thalia said, leaning back, "on Velshar, royalty doesn't just rule, we guide. When we bond, we connect our spirit with another to bring strength to our people. That's why the co-bonding rule exists." Elias frowned. "That rule? It means if I agree to marry your sister, I also have to marry you." Thalia nodded proudly. "Exactly. You see, 2 sisters bring balance. Virella is the strong leader. I'm the curious dreamer. Together we create harmony. It has been this way for centuries." He stared at her. "You're serious." "Very serious," she said, sitting straighter. "Also very hungry. Do humans eat at this hour?" Elias blinked. "You came here to talk about marriage and dinner?" "Well," she said cheerfully, "marriage is a big decision. Better to make it on a full stomach." Before Elias could answer, the room shimmered, and Princess Virella entered. She looked calm, but her silver eyes focused sharply on her sister. "Thalia, you should not pressure him." Thalia grinned. "I'm not pressuring, I'm explaining." Virella turned to Elias. "Forgive her. She enjoys teasing, even during serious moments." Elias stood up politely. "No offense taken, I'm just trying to understand all this." Virella walked over and stood beside her sister. The contrast between them was striking. Virella calm and noble, Thalia playful and bold. "Our customs may be strange to you," Virella said gently, "but they are built on purpose. You earned our people's respect, that is why I offered the bond." "And I offered mine," Thalia added quickly. Elias smiled awkwardly. "You're both very kind, and I'm flattered. But Earth doesn't have laws about co-marriage. Some people wouldn't even believe this story." Virella's face remained calm. "Then perhaps it is time your people saw how the galaxy works. We do not ask you to abandon your ways, but we ask you to learn ours." Elias rubbed his forehead. This wasn't just about feelings. It was diplomacy. A bond between Earth and the Zaltari Empire would bring peace, trade, and safety to hundreds of planets, but it would also make him part of that empire. And if he said no, would it damage everything? Virella noticed his concern. "There is no rush, but know this. Accepting the bond is not a trap. It is a choice of honor." Thalia nodded. "And adventure." There was a long pause. Then Elias sighed. "I'll stay. I'll learn more about your customs. But I need to be sure this is the right thing, for Earth and for me." Virella smiled. "That is all we ask." Thalia jumped up. "Great. Let's start with dinner." Virella raised an eyebrow. "That is not what I meant, Thalia." Thalia grinned. "He has to eat anyway." Elias chuckled. "I could use a meal. But please, no surprise food that glows or floats." Thalia winked. "No, promises." As they left the room together, Elias felt a strange calm settle over him. The palace, the people, the sisters, it was all overwhelming, yes, but it was also fascinating. Maybe this mission wasn't just about peace between two worlds. Maybe it was also about discovering something new, something powerful. Maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something great. Commander Elias Trent woke the next morning to a soft chime and a gentle voice from the room's walls. "Good morning, honored guest. Today begins your first trial." He sat up quickly, blinking. "Trial? What trial?" The doors opened and Virella entered, dressed in formal silver robes with crystal patterns across her sleeves. She looked even more regal than usual. "You agreed to stay and learn our ways," she said calmly. "Today you begin the 3 trials of bonding. All who wish to join the royal line must pass them." Elias stood, confused. Nobody mentioned trials before. Thalia peeked around the door. "Oops, we forgot that part." Virella gave her a look. Thalia smiled innocently. "The trials are tradition," Virella continued. "They are not meant to hurt you, but to test your spirit." "What kind of trials are we talking about?" Elias asked carefully. "Diplomacy, valor, and vision," Virella explained. "Each one will challenge a different part of you." Thalia leaned in. "Fail them, and you cannot bond with us. Pass them, and you will become a legend." Elias took a deep breath. "Let's start then. Trial 1. Diplomacy." Elias was led to a large hall filled with Zaltari nobles, warriors, and scholars. At the center stood 2 tribal leaders from distant moons, both arguing loudly in their native tongue. The translator device buzzed, struggling to keep up. Virella spoke softly beside him. "They have been fighting for over a decade. Our empire has failed to make peace. Now we ask you to try." Elias walked forward slowly. The leaders looked surprised to see a human approach. He bowed respectfully. "I come from Earth. We've had our share of wars too, but we've also learned how to stop them." He listened to each side carefully. One group had lost resources. The other feared invasion. Instead of making demands, Elias asked questions. He drew a map on a digital screen, showing how both groups could trade instead of fight. He offered Earth's technology to help build a neutral trade zone. The hall fell silent as the tribal leaders looked at each other, then nodded. For the first time in years, one said, "I believe peace is possible." The crowd clapped. Virella smiled, proud. Elias exhaled. One trial, on Channel 2. Valor, the second trial, was held in an open arena, beneath Velshar's twin moons. Warriors stood on the edge, ready to test Elias. A metal gate opened, and a tall, 4-armed creature made of stone stepped out, roaring. Elias gulped. "Nobody said there'd be monsters," Thalia called from the stands. "Don't worry, it's not allowed to actually crush you." He rolled his eyes. Very comforting. He was given a shock spear, lightweight but strong. The beast charged. Elias dodged quickly, using speed over strength. He didn't try to fight head-on. Instead, he climbed the arena walls, jumping from ledges, making the creature tired. Then, using the spear's electric setting, he struck the floor, sending a shockwave that unbalanced the creature. It fell with a loud thud. Elias didn't strike again. He backed away, showing mercy. The crowd roared with approval. Virella's voice echoed through the arena. "Courage is not just strength, it is wisdom and restraint. Elias Trent has passed. Trial 3. Vision." The final trial was quiet. Elias was led to a chamber where the walls showed holograms of possible futures. Some showed peace, others, war. Some showed Earth forgotten, others showed it leading the stars. A voice asked, "What future do you see for our people?" Elias looked around, thoughtful. "I don't want Earth to rule you. I don't want your empire to control Earth. I want something better. A future where humans and Zaltari learn from each other, build together and protect each other. Not as rulers and subjects, but as partners." The room glowed softly. The voice spoke again. "You have passed." Later that night, Elias stood on the palace balcony with both sisters. "You didn't tell me those trials would be so hard," he said, sipping a drink. Thalia laughed. "If we told you everything, you might have run." Virella smiled. You did well. Our people are impressed. I'm still confused about all this, Elias said honestly. But I want to understand more. I want to do this right. You. Already started, Virella said. Thalia nodded. Next up, the bonding ceremony. Elias looked at them both. Let me guess. That's also a surprise? They smiled at the same time. Yes, they said together. The crystal halls of the Velshar Palace glittered under thousands of floating lights, casting long shadows as nobles and dignitaries gathered for the grand ball. This was a celebration, unlike any other, the joining of two worlds, or at least the promise of it. Commander Elias Trent, the human ambassador, stood near the center of the great hall, surrounded by swirling gowns and whispering voices. Princess Virella was radiant, dressed in a shimmering gown that seemed woven from stars. Beside her, her younger sister Thalia sparkled with mischief, her eyes bright with excitement and maybe a little nervousness. Elias smiled politely, though his mind raced. The trials had been tough, but he had passed. Now this ball was meant to honor the potential bond between him and the princesses, a bond that could change the future of the galaxy. He tried to enjoy the music and the light, but a growing feeling of unease tugged at him. Suddenly, the grand doors of the hall slammed open. A tall figure entered, clad in dark armor trimmed with sharp spikes. Lord Kaivos, a powerful noble of the Xaltari Empire and a known enemy of change, strode forward with cold eyes. Elias Trent, Kaivos said, voice low but carrying through the hall. You are not welcome here. The crowd gasped. Whispers grew loud. Some stepped back. Others watched with curiosity. Virella stepped forward, calm but firm. Lord Kaivos, this is a celebration. We ask you to respect our guests. Kaivos sneered. Respect? I see a human trying to buy loyalty with tricks and promises. This alliance will ruin the Empire's traditions. I will not allow it. Thalia's playful smile disappeared. She narrowed her eyes at Kaivos. Are you threatening the peace? Kaivos laughed, a cold sound. I am saving the Empire from ruin. The Granak Consortium supports me. Their fleet is ready to strike. A chill passed through the hall. The Granak Consortium was a feared group of mercenaries and warlords who wanted to control the galaxy's trade routes. Their support for Kaivos meant war was near. Elias stepped forward, his voice steady but loud enough for all to hear. I came here to build peace, not start war. If you truly care for the Empire, you will stand with us, not threaten it. Kaivos sneered. You are but one human. You cannot stop what is coming. Suddenly, alarms blared. The palace shook lightly. Holographic screens appeared showing Granak ships warping into the system. The crowd panicked. Virella raised her hands to calm them. Everyone, stay calm, she said firmly. The palace defenses will hold. Elias felt his training take over. Princess, we need a plan. Virella nodded. Thalia, gather the palace guards. Elias, come with me. The three moved quickly through hidden corridors to the war room. It was filled with star maps, blinking lights, and officers working at consoles. Kaivos has betrayed us, Virella said, her voice cold with anger. He seeks to overthrow the Empire. Elias frowned. How many ships are coming? 20, one officer said. They have heavy weapons and fast fighters. Thalia spoke up. We can't fight them alone. Elias looked at the holograms of ships. Then he had an idea. On Earth, we don't always fight with weapons. Sometimes we use connection. We form alliances. I have contacts, former allies, traders, even some old friends who owe Earth favors. Virella raised an eyebrow. You mean call for reinforcements? Yes, Elias said, but not just soldiers. Engineers, negotiators, traders. People who can help end this without more war. Virella nodded slowly. A bold plan. Thalia grinned. I like it. Over. The next few hours, Elias used the palace's communication systems to send calls for help across the stars. He spoke with old Earth allies, trade captains, and even some rebel groups who respected humanity's ideals. Meanwhile, the Granic ships closed in. The battle began at twilight. Outside Velshar, bright flashes of laser fire lit the dark space. The palace's defense ships fought bravely but were outnumbered. Suddenly, reinforcements arrived. Not warships first, but supply vessels and diplomats. They brought tools to repair damaged ships, negotiators ready to talk to the Granic leaders, and engineers who quickly built shields to protect the planet. Using this unexpected support, Elias coordinated a daring plan. They surrounded the enemy, fleet not to destroy it but to block it and open talks. Princess Varela addressed the Granic leaders via hologram. "This conflict will only bring ruin," she said. "Join us for peace and prosperity." After tense moments, the Granic leaders agreed to stand down, but only if Kivos was removed from power. With help from palace guards and allies, Elias and the sisters arrested Kivos before he could flee. The hall erupted in cheers. Later, as the stars shone brightly over Velshar, Elias stood with Varela and Thalia. "You saved us all," Varela said quietly. "We saved each other," Elias replied. Thalia smiled. "See? Humans aren't just fighters. They're friends too." Elias looked at the sisters and felt a new respect and connection. This bond was not just tradition or politics. It was hope. The night ended with laughter and music, but Elias knew the real challenge was just beginning. The palace was quiet in the early morning light. Commander Elias Trent sat on a balcony overlooking the shimmering crystal gardens of Velshar. The air smelled sweet, like flowers he had never seen before. Beside him, Princess Varela stood tall and calm, watching the twin suns rise. Her silver markings glowed faintly in the soft light. Behind them, footsteps approached, soft but quick. Princess Thalia appeared, wearing a simple robe and a thoughtful look. She stopped beside Elias and Varela, her bright eyes different than usual, more serious. "Good morning," Elias said, smiling. "Good morning," Varela replied. Thalia nodded but didn't speak at first. Elias looked at her. "You seem quiet today," Thalia sighed. "There are things you should know. Things we don't tell many outsiders." Elias's curiosity grew. "I'm listening." Varela gave a small nod. "Our family carries more than titles and traditions. We carry the weight of our people's history." Thalia sat down on the edge of the balcony, her gaze distant. "Our mother, the Empress, has ruled with strength and wisdom, but she is not without enemies inside and outside the palace." Elias frowned. "Is this about Lord Kivos?" Varela's eyes darkened. "Yes. He was once a trusted noble, but his hunger for power grew dangerous. His alliance with the Granic consortium was a betrayal." Thalia added, "But that is only part of the story. The sisters, we carry different hopes for the future." Elias looked between them. "What do you mean?" Varela spoke softly. "I want to protect the Empire and keep peace, even if it means keeping old traditions." Thalia smiled sadly. "And I want change. New ideas. Freedom for our people." Elias nodded. "Sounds like a hard balance." "It is," Varela said. "That is why the co-bonding rule exists, to keep balance. In the royal family and the Empire." Thalia looked at Elias. "When you arrived, we did not expect you to understand so quickly. You see our differences not as conflict, but as strength." Elias smiled. "I believe humans and Zaltari can learn a lot from each other. Differences don't have to divide us." Varela reached out, touching his arm lightly. "That is why your bond with us is more than political. It is hope." Thalia stood and stretched. "And also a little fun. Don't forget that." Elias laughed. "I won't." For a moment, the three stood in comfortable silence, watching the suns climb higher. Suddenly, Thalia's smile faded. "There is one more secret you should know." Elias looked at her, attentive. "The Empire's enemies are not just outside," Thalia said quietly. "Some nobles still plot to weaken the Empress's rule. They see the human bond as a threat." Varela nodded. "Which means we must be careful. Trust is rare." Elias felt the weight of their words. This was no simple royal marriage. It was a battle for the future. But we will face it together, he said firmly. The sisters smiled, a mix of relief and hope in their eyes. As the day began, Elias felt closer to Virella and Thalia than ever before. They were not just alien princesses or political allies. They were sisters with hopes, fears, and dreams, just like him, and together they would face whatever challenges came next. The throne room of Velshar was silent, except for the soft hum of crystal walls. Commander Elias Trent stood beside Princess Virella and Princess Thalia. Outside the palace, the shadow of war still loomed. The Granic Consortium's threat had not disappeared, it was only delayed. Virella's silver eyes were steady but tired. Our people need more than defense, we need unity. Elias nodded. On Earth, when danger comes, we don't always respond with weapons. Sometimes we bring others together, friends, neighbors, even former enemies, to find a better way. Thalia smiled. You mean an alliance? Yes, Elias said. But more than that, a coalition. Different species, different worlds, working together. Virella looked thoughtful. It is risky. Many do not trust humans. Many fear change. Elias stepped forward. I understand. But if we face war alone, we will lose. If we work together, we can protect the Empire and all its people. The sisters exchanged glances. Very well, Virella said. We will try. Over the next days, Elias used the palace's communication network to contact Earth's old allies. Traders, engineers, explorers, and diplomats from many worlds. Many remembered Earth's help in past conflicts and were willing to assist. Slowly, ships arrived near Velshar, but not warships first. Instead, freighters carrying supplies, engineers with tools, diplomats ready to talk, and scientists eager to help. Elias coordinated the effort. We must repair our defenses, yes, he said, but also prepare for peace talks. The Granic will listen if they see strength and unity. Virella smiled. You are teaching us something new. Thalia laughed. And it feels good to try something different. The day of the Granic fleet's return arrived. This time, instead of fear, the people of Velshar stood ready. As enemy ships entered the system, the coalition's forces appeared, fighters from Earth's allies, shields built by engineers from many worlds, and diplomats broadcasting messages of peace. The battle was tense but brief. The coalition's strength surprised the Granic. Instead of fighting, many ships pulled back, unwilling to face a united front. Elias and the sisters took the chance to open talks with the Granic leaders. They spoke of a future where trade could benefit everyone, where peace was stronger than fear. It was not easy. Some Granic commanders wanted war. But the leaders listened. After long hours, a treaty was signed. The Granic agreed to cease their attacks and respect the borders of the Zaltari Empire. The palace erupted in cheers. The people of Velshar had seen the power of unity and of humanity. Later, as the stars shone bright, Elias stood with Virella and Thalia on the palace balcony. You have changed our empire, Virella said softly. Not by force, but by hope, Thalia grinned, and by a little stubbornness. Elias smiled back. We all did it together. Virella looked at him with warmth. Now, the final step awaits. Elias raised an eyebrow. The bonding ceremony? Yes, she said. The moment when our connection becomes official. Thalia linked her arm with Elias's. Don't worry, we'll be by your side. Elias took a deep breath. The journey was almost complete, and though the future was still unknown, he felt ready. Not just as a human ambassador, but as a part of something greater. The great hall of Velshar was filled with light. Crystals hanging from the ceiling reflected the twin suns outside, casting rainbows on the polished floor. Nobles, diplomats, and citizens from many planets gathered to witness an event unlike any before. A bonding ceremony that would join two worlds forever. Commander Elias Trent stood between Princess Virella and Princess Thalia. Both wore elegant robes that shimmered softly, symbols of their royal heritage. Elias felt a mixture of nervousness and pride. This moment was not just about him, it was about the future of humanity and the Zaltari Empire. Virella took his hand, her silver eyes calm and steady. Elias, you have proven yourself in trials, in battle, and in heart. Today, we unite. Thalia smiled brightly, her fingers brushing his other hand. This is more than tradition. It is a promise to protect, to grow, and to stand together. The High Elder of Velshar stepped forward. His voice was deep and clear. In the name of the Empress and all the people of the Empire, I declare this bonding ceremony open. He spoke of history and hope, of old customs and new beginnings. When he finished, he raised his hands and the room fell silent. Elias looked at the two sisters beside him. Are you ready? They nodded. The elder began the ritual, lighting crystals that glowed with warm energy. He asked Elias to repeat vows, not just words, but promises to protect, respect, and share the lives of both princesses. Elias spoke carefully. I promise to honor both Virella and Thalia, to support their hopes, and to defend our bond against all challenges. Virella and Thalia each spoke their own vows, words of trust, respect, and hope. When the ceremony ended, the crystals shone brightly, and a gentle hum filled the hall. A symbol of unity appeared above them, a circle joined by two stars. The crowd erupted in applause. After the ceremony, Elias walked with Virella and Thalia through the palace gardens. The air was fresh with the scent of glowing flowers. People waved and smiled as they passed. Virella looked at Elias. This union will change many things. Our empire must grow, adapt, and accept new ways. Thalia nodded. We have started. That changed today. Elias smiled. I never imagined I would be part of such a moment, but I believe it is right. Together, we can face the stars. Virella rested her head gently on Elias's shoulder. You are more than a human ambassador. Now, your family. Thalia leaned close, whispering, and if you ever get lost, just follow my crazy ideas. Elias laughed softly. I think I will. In the weeks that followed, the empire began to change. Old laws were rewritten. New voices were heard. The co-bonding rule was kept but honored differently, more about partnership than control. Elias worked with Virella and Thalia to build schools, hospitals, and trade networks. Human ideas mixed with Zaltari wisdom to create something new, a future where all species could thrive. News of the unique union spread across the galaxy. Some were surprised, some doubtful, but many inspired. Elias often thought of Earth, his home, and the long journey that brought him here. He felt pride not only for himself, but for all humans who dreamed of reaching the stars. One evening, under the glowing twin moons, Elias sat with the sisters on a balcony. The city lights sparkled below like stars. We made it, Virella said. Softly, Thalia smiled. And this is just the beginning. Elias looked at the vast sky. Humanity has always believed in hope. Maybe that is our greatest strength. Virella squeezed his hand. And now, that hope belongs to all of us. Together, they watched the stars, three figures united not by tradition alone, but by choice, respect, and the promise of a better tomorrow.